Hello, friends, and welcome to the Mindfulness Advantage Show, where we engage in essential conversations with ordinary people just like you, achieving the extraordinary. I'm your host, George E. Green, CEO and creator of the Mindfulness Advantage Advanced Training and Mentoring Systems. Thank you, friends, for staying with us for the next hour. Our commitment to you each and every week, my friends, is to bring you relevant, resonant, thoughtful, focused, and provocative conversations and content more than worthy of your sharing and replay. If you desire and choose to imagine more, to imagine better, then join me and join our special featured guests right here every week on our new playground. This is your next and greatest adventure, friends. Let's play. Today, my featured guest is our friend, Coach. Excuse me. I grabbed the wrong intro. Today, my featured guest is our friend, Liz Draman. And we're going to be bringing Liz in just a moment after first words. What do you truly love? What matters most, and most importantly, friends, what are your greatest desires? Rather than hedonistic, ego-driven, and reactive desire, what Liz and I are inviting you to join us in exploring and talking about today is your heart's authentic desire. Today, we're immersed in a culture of massive distraction, judgment, opposition, and polarity, competition, crisis, and conflict. It doesn't matter who you are, how evolved you are, or you think you are. We are influenced by the culture we are in. Now more than ever, what is necessary and required for our survival and thriving for each of us to embrace our own remembrance and return to our hearts. The remembrance is your return to your most primary and essential conversation, your conversation with your true essence and self, with your heart, with your God of your understanding, and with your beloved. What we are mapping and exploring today, friends, is your power of mindful, awakened relationship and renewal. If you are hungry for co-empowered, collaborative partnerships and relationships, and most of us are, then get comfortable. Put your feet up and join me in welcoming my friend, Liz Draman. Thank you, Liz, for co-creating our live broadcast with me today.
You're welcome. You're welcome, George. And thank you for that beautiful intro and setting the tone for the sharing, the continuation of the sharing we've had over the week.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for your generosity of inviting me on and to share my voice of love with your community. And I'm excited about today and all of the blessings that our words will ripple out into our world.
Yay.
Thank you.
I am. We are in our high agreement and commitment to serve people and inspire people here today and going forward. I'd love for us to jump in and start by talking about the most central and primary way we experience love and our desire, which is our intimate relationships with partners and our business relationships. So first and foremost, we're inviting people to listen to the voice of love rather than the voice of fear. The first question I imagine is going to come up is, how the heck do I do that? So let's talk about that.
Well, as you said in your opening words, it's a remembering. And we are in a great remembrance of an individual and collective remembrance of who we are. And connecting with the consciousness and intelligence that's encoded in every cell of our body. We each have a divine intelligence that speaks to us, through us, flows from us. and getting intimate with that voice requires a conscious choice. I believe that's the first step.
And indeed, and I just want to jump in here because now science has revealed and proven the words that Liz has just talked about, that we have a divine design and blueprint, and the power of our heart. It used to be that heart, spirit, soul, kindness, and compassion were the third rail of business, corporate culture, and just in some cultures in general. But thanks to the Institute of Heart Math, what they've determined is that your heart has more neurological cells than it has muscle cells, that your heart generates a field about 5,000 times stronger than your brain, and that it's actually your heart that is your central organ, the primary organ that influences all other organs, including the brain. So science shows that when we return to our inner relationship, personal relationship with our true selves, our authentic selves, our heart, that it creates a dynamic cascade of coherence events in our body, our physiology, and in our brain and consciousness. So there is the mystical nature of what we're talking about, the spiritual nature, and then there's the hardcore science that says, yes, this is real. So it's really important to bring that point up. And so that's the point of origin and beginning. Where do we go from there?
Well, we go to understanding and again, getting intimate with what we truly desire. What is most important to us? Because I'm just going to speak about the law of one for a moment. And I love what, that we've already prefaced, that science is now confirming what the sages and the mystics have shared with us for the ages. So this is just awesome, for us, because we require that confirmation. Our logical minds require that. So the law of one is that when we consciously bring a determination to first to know and then to have our deepest desire, to bring that to form, that we literally are allowing Source, God, Creator, to desire through us, to feel through us, to see through us, to think through us. And when we can, just really be in that mindfulness of being in one mind, one heart, one word, one action, then we know that desire is truly our essence. So when we give ourselves the permission, and sometimes we have to start there, just
yes.
giving ourselves permission to have, to know, to be our divine desire, and we give ourselves permission to know what our highest heart desire is, then we truly are acting from, living from our essence. And that resonance, that alignment is so magnetic that it draws us to all the people, places, and things. It's the divine intelligence that brings people like you and people like me and everyone that's watching this broadcast live and on the replay. It brings us together in that resonance so that together, to get there, we can bring our voice of love to the world.
Indeed.
So I believe that it's first give ourselves permission. I mean, you can do this right now, anywhere. I give myself permission to know what my highest heart's desire is, because I know that when I am in alignment with that, I am functioning in the universal law of one.
Yes, indeed. And that's a powerful law. Like attracts like. I'm going to play Angel's advocate rather than...
Okay, I like that.
put my horns up a long time ago, yeah.
I brought my angel wing today, so I'm glad that
excellent. So, more clear and true and powerful words have, other than been spoken. And again, those people out there who are are ready for a deeper connection might be asking, one, how do I get there? How do I listen? And then there may very well be trepidation, and in fact I know there is, because you and I have been in the business of coaching and guiding and mentoring people for myself 10 years full time, is that there's a trepidation, there's a fear to actually hear the voice of our heart, the voice of our greater purpose. And what generates that fear, the voice of fear, or the doubt, simply our programming, our family of origin programming, being steeped in this competitive world where, strangely enough, some of the people closest to us, when we are in our victory, when we're really busting out of our familiar boundaries of imagination and creation, there are people who don't want you to go. So to sort of answer my own question and lead into your response, it's what I call weeding the garden. First and foremost, we just have to learn how to be with ourselves first. And that, that can be in prayer or mindfulness or meditation, or just creating space enough, your own personal space, where the noise, the static, can start to ebb, so that you can actually feel yourself in your body and feel and listen to the conversations that are going on, some which are the voice of fear rather than the voice of our heart and our love. So in your particular playground, how would you invite our friends here in the live broadcast and in the replay to learn how to make that hero or shero's journey back into the inner palace of their hearts and listen to the voice of guidance there?
Yeah, good question, and I really love that, because it's what I deal with on a daily in working with my clients. So just to keep it really, really simple, I work with, energy. So as a sound healer and an energy alchemist, energy is so important. Everything is energy. We know that's pretty basic at this point, but let's just build from the ground up. So love, let's work with energy. So there's love, the energy of love, which is the frequency of creation. It is an ascending, upward moving energy. It's why when we express love, we feel good, we feel joy, we feel bliss. We remember what that feels like. And we have words to describe this energy that we call love. And then we have emotions, which are descending, downward moving energies. And so we have unconsciousness, apathy, grief, fear, pain. Those are the octaves of emotions which work against
anxiety,
love.
very common.
Yeah, and within each of those octaves of energy, there are other octaves. Within grief, there's just sadness or deep sorrow. So there's octaves within, yes, and then anger, there's anger, and then there's rage. So within each octave of emotion, there are more octaves, right? So literally love, this ascending, moving upward energy, when it meets, when we open our heart, whether it's through mindfulness or meditation or just ask and it is given. When we open our heart to ask for a change, love comes in, the energy of love comes in, you invite that in, and when it meets this downward moving energy, because it's a higher frequency, love flips it, literally. It's called a hydrogen flip, and it happens actually very organically, and it can be elegant. It does not have to be, we can do things differently. So I just wanted to lay that foundation. How does that feel now? Go ahead.
I just want to add in, both Liz and I have worked with and trained with Robert Tennyson Stevens, my friend Bobby, in conscious language. And I paraphrase, other than remember exactly how he said this, but people who have been on my show, watched my show, you'll hear me say this over and over again. And what Liz is talking about is not only bringing, but being the energy of love. Or let's put it in the terms of my playground. When we bring our mindful awareness, when I say mindful awareness, it's singular mindfulness. upon anything that we sit with, not to do something to or with or to think of or react, just to sit with and witness. When we sit with and witness our fear, our anxiety, our
Mm-hmm.
sadness, our apathy, our grief, our rage, our unconsciousness, when we sit with it with a full measure of our mindful presence and blazing heart, those things cannot survive.
That's exactly right.
And so it's our
Yes.
love or our mindful heart-based presence that, as Liz says, flips that energy, and it literally rotates up to a higher form of energy, which is absolute mindfulness, mindful consciousness, and love. And that is our inner transformation. That is the alchemy we can call upon and bring up from our heart to affect and upgrade and enhance every aspect of our life and our relationships.
Yes.
Boom.
And thank you. And let's remember that we are love. I am love. And the I am in us, the masculine and feminine expression of divine source is eternal. It's infinite. Love, if we believe love is a expression of who our essential self is, then that is who we are. When we then think, and thought is in the mind of consciousness, when we think anything other than love, we are literally creating a parallel universe for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
light and dark. So what does this look like in real life? Like, let's bring this down to real life, because I'm a real practical person. I like to know, like, okay, well, how does this fit in my life? So what would it sound like? What would the voice of fear, let's say, sound like? So I'm in a job that I'm not happy, but I'm, quote, afraid to leave because if I do and I follow my heart, I won't be able to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Voice of fear. Because when we follow our deepest heart's desire, the seed, the blueprint of its creation is within the desire
Yeah.
itself. So it's already there. But the voice of fear will hold us back,
Mm-hmm.
and it won't feel good. It won't feel good. So, and that can only last so long, because in any healthy organism, we live in a self-correcting, right,
Mm-hmm.
self-realigning universe. A disharmony will only last so long. It will only tolerate it so long before something happens. So what might happen in that situation? Well, someone might get fired, or something might happen,
Yeah.
because that's the self-correction.
You know, if I can jump in here, this is
Yeah.
one of the most common dialogues that we have. I know that I have with my client partners is, I'm not doing what I'm here to do. I don't like my
Yes.
job, or I hate my job. I'm not sure what my purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, many of us in that state of judgment and ultimately despair,
Can be,
uh,
yes, can
can
get to
be,
that.
is that we're operating and doing the math of subtraction, because we're in this job and it's either or. Either I'm in this job that sucks and I hate, or I'm in the job that's my dream job. I'm doing what I love. And, in the middle is the craziness. I don't know what that is. But they're certain about one thing, and that is they don't like their job. And so in my in my counseling with people who are in that space, I'll ask them, what kind of a car do you have? And they'll say, and I say, do you like your car? Awesome, yeah. And are you in a house or apartment or a condo? And they'll say house. And you like your house? You love your house? Oh yeah, I love my house. Love your job.
Yeah.
Dr. Wayne Dyer said, love everything you do on your way to doing what you love. We are inviting
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and everyone else to move out of subtraction, which is judgment and polarity, separation, into addition and multiplication. So what I would invite people who are in the space of, I don't like my job, I'm not doing what I'm here to do, is shift that energy into, one, appreciate you have a job, because there are people who don't, and two, start building a strategy while you're at the job that pays the bills and feeds your family, and pays the car note and everything else. Start building a strategy. If you don't know what you love, we're inviting you to sit in the stillness, in the silence, start having conversation with the place and space that knows your own heart, the core of who you are. So boom, that's my rant for this segment, and keep going.
Awesome. And so I'm a bit of a radical person. So so I'm going to amp it up a little bit here and
Go
say,
for it.
you know, the bottom line is that we need to call up courage. We need to get our courage on.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to shake our lives up. And I know personally, I'm speaking from my own, this is not like, well, I don't walk this talk. I do walk this talk. The greatest blessings in my life have come when I just said, I have got to do this. And I knew there was a force of nature in me that propelled me, magnetized me to move forward beyond logic. Beyond people would, you know, in my life would never, you know, think I was crazy. And those are the times when the greatest blessings came. We've got to push the universe. We've got to push the envelope on the universe and say, I command and I demand that what I desire and what I require to bring my desire to form comes forth. We are powerful beings. And so, yes, I believe in strategy and I'm a practical person, but I also believe that we've got to call up courage in us because, quite honestly, our world needs it.
Needs and requires us.
It requires us to stand in our power and stand in our light, and that will require courage, especially for those who are awake, and if you're listening to this show, I know you are, to why you know you are here for something. You may not know exactly what it is, and who does really? You know what I mean? Like, who really knows exactly what we're here for? As you said earlier, love what you're doing while you're doing what you love. Just love what's right in front of you because that's your service at this moment. That is your highest service in this moment, what's right in front of you. So if you're a full-time mom and you've got 3 little children, they are your service. If you are a vice president of a corporation and you're sitting in a boardroom, that is your service. If whatever it is, if you're, you know, I remember
whatever's in front of you is an opportunity to be in service.
I remember after I left my corporate job and I had the opportunity, really blessed to be a full-time mom and really expand in my own spiritual work. I remember when I would love cleaning my home because I connected with my home, and I remember really bringing sacredness to caring for my home because I felt I was in service to this sacred space that my family was living in. So I invite, you know, the listeners and myself, I'm speaking to myself again, to look at everything that's in front of us as a sacred, this is my ceremony, this is my service. So
there are no ordinary moments, really.
Yes. Yes.
Now let's pause here for a second for a show ID. You are watching another epic episode of the Mindfulness Advantage Show, and we have our friend Liz Draman on the show with us today, and we're talking about a return to love, which is what Liz does. In fact, we're going to jump into that in just a minute. We're talking about harnessing the power of your authentic desire, not your reactive, gimme, gimme, hedonistic desire, but your heart's desire. What melts your butter? What floats your boat? What gets you down the road in a happy, go-go kind of way? Not to put too fine a silly point on it, but and unfortunately, we get distracted by our math of subtraction. It's either or. I can't do what I love. I don't believe I can. And one of the things that you were talking about just a moment ago, Liz, was really making a commitment to be in that return of conversation with self and heart and beloved and God, and recognize that when we do even our exploration, dipping our toe in our pinky toe in the pool, creates waves of change. And one of the ways, if we are other than aware or clear on what our greater purpose is, or divine purpose, a way to discover that is simply orient yourself to serving, period. Not for any return, not for any outcome other than to serve. And one, you'll see how much richer your relationships become and how people recognize you as their miracle. That's a feast for anyone. When you see the shift, the change, the brightness that rises in someone's eyes that we've served and lifted up. So that's a perfect way to find your greater purpose. What are your thoughts?
I'm receiving your words and
Thank you.
Feeling the truth in what you're saying about showing up every morning for life as I am here to serve. How may I serve? And, for me, waking up to my deepest desire of service was the first step for me in living my thriving life, and really truly accepting that that's who I am. So it's like, when a zebra recognizes the zebra's stripes and loves the stripes that then you can really be the most, fabulous zebra, in the safari. So, and that's taken some unwinding from conditioning that you talked about. But I really believe that we can do things differently. Okay, I believe that, yes, we live in a world where there's distractions. Yes, I do agree with that. But I believe that if we focus on that, just by virtue of bringing our attention and focus to that, we're keeping that alive. So returning to love, this concept of returning to love, allowing ourselves to only see love. Like, what are we willing to accept from ourselves? Are we willing to accept that, yes, we live in this world and it's chaotic and it's whatever the news presents it to be? I say no. I'm of the opinion no.
We have to suspend our judgment first and foremost.
Yes.
That's what keeps us. That's what keeps us in the hallucination, what I call our hallucination of separation, which includes all this chaos and conflict we're steeped in. And even more specifically, how we are in the world but not of it is by focusing the entirety of our attentions upon ourselves, our heart, and operating from that space. And when we do mindfully, we witness when we have a knee-jerk reaction, when we label or judge someone else, or we have a negative narrative. Our job is to be with each other and see each other in our brilliance and our humanity, warts and all.
So I love what you just described. You described having being in the world but not of the world. You just described the horizontal and vertical experience that we have. And the heart, the sacred heart, is the bridge. It is where all the centers meet and merge. So we have this horizontal experience of living the human life, yes? And as we bring in, through mindfulness, through practices, and we have so many, and whatever it is that speaks to us at any given moment, I have many, many different practices that speak to me at different times in my life. So it's good to have an eclectic toolbox of what's working for me now, and to bring mindfulness to our presence and bring that into the earth, and really be that, so that our heart just emanates it, and that's who we are. So when we are in the world having this horizontal experience, there isn't a separation from my practice. Let's say it's yoga, for instance. I'm on my mat. It's easy to be, in mindfulness and peace. And then I walk out the door and I, get on Federal Highway and, I'm back into the world.
It's what you carry with you into the world that determines the narrative and the experience that we have.
Yes. Yeah. And really, allowing the heart to be the bridge for that and bringing our attention. And I love what you were saying earlier about, the heart space, and that we have this divine intelligence. So our body, our physical, beautiful, sacred vessel, is a wonderful tuning fork for us to um, know if we're in resonance or not with what's going on. You know when an instrument is out of tune.
Yes.
It just doesn't sound good. So in our body, it just doesn't feel good. When something doesn't feel good, there's a reason for that.
And the question here, friends, is when is the last time you experienced your heart singing to you?
And what was it that made your heart sing?
Right.
Because flag that, like,
Yeah.
this feels good.
Yeah. Do that more. And when you're
Yeah.
done doing more, get some more.
Yes, and that's when the creative flow comes in. That's when the inspiration comes in. When we are just doing what we enjoy, really being in joy, and we hear the whispering. I mean, the whispers of our heart, of our deepest desire, usually come in those exact moments. They don't necessarily come when you're, let's say, in a big celebration or you're doing something. It isn't in that moment. It's in the quietness of the whispering of listening to the trees rustle or watching the ocean roll in, and you receive this divine inspiration. Now the rub is, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
What do you do with it? And
Right.
that's
So
where the action comes into.
normally what most of us do is go, oh, that was a sweet, rare passing moment.
Right.
Well, actually, we're wired for that kind of expansive, feisty kind of living, but you have to call it in. You have to call it out from your heart. And here's an amazing thing. I took some time out to jump on Mapleton Hill Avenue, which is 3 or 4 blocks south of here, and it turns into Sunshine Valley Drive. And in 15 minutes, I went from about 5,600 feet to 7,000
Wow.
at Bald Mountain Park, and I just went and sat on one of their picnic tables, and it was so pristinely quiet, and of course, all the ponderosa pines up there. The air was really fresh, and it was my breath was a feast. And as I sat there just listening to my own heartbeat, I heard a crow picking on an eagle, which they do. And so I heard crow caw, 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 and then I heard the eagle song, and I got shivers. So that was just a moment that I created and called in. I decided to step out of my normal role of activities. Now, no, not everybody lives right next door to the Front Range, but you can have those moments in your car, in your house. You can take a walk. You can go to a park. It's incumbent upon us to start embracing with courage a greater expression and reception of life as the feast, as Liz is saying.
I love that.
Yeah.
But you just reminded me of being a New York girl and growing up on Long Island. The beach for me was my refuge and my sanctuary. But I didn't always have, and even now where I am in South Florida, I don't always have the vastness of nature so readily available. So one of the things that I learned when I was doing my training for sound healing, we had an exercise where we went into a city situation, and at the time I was in New York, so it was easy, and literally were required to sit on a city street and tune in to all of the sounds around us until they became one, like a blur, until we were so centered that we could hear our heart in harmony with all of the external. And it really required, it took a while for me. It was like my mind was just like, no.
And it's a practice of remembering that our own harmony, and remembering that first and foremost we are elemental beings, and we are spirit and flesh, or spirit incarnate in the flesh. And so part of our forgetfulness is thinking, again, using subtraction, that because I'm in New York City or Long Island, that I'm separate from the mountains or the meadows or the sea
Exactly.
or a creek
Yes.
or a river. You
Hmm.
are the river.
Yes.
And that sounds like a real shiny pink puffy bunny cloud bumper sticker until you commit to having the remembrance, the experience that you are an elemental being. So, and then as Liz said, it takes work. It took her a while to get there because of whatever relationship she had with a city environment. Like that was antithetical to her being in a state of grace. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so speaking to our topic about renewal, and recommitment, we we're in a time right now, particularly this weekend. We've got a solar eclipse, a new moon, and an
Supermoon.
equinox. I mean, we've got a lot happening. So in any given moment, we can really recommit to knowing the voice of our heart.
Mm-hmm.
In every given moment, standing at Starbucks getting a latte, and I don't know if I'm allowed to mention, I don't know if that was
Okay.
accepted. Well,
That's no worries there.
you're standing, ordering a latte, and your mind is, anywhere other than being present. You can just bring yourself back to presence in that moment. Say, I
Mm-hmm.
recommit. I recommit to presence. I recommit to presence. I recommit to knowing the voice of love. I believe that's the place to start. The universal law: ask and it is given, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will open.
Mm-hmm.
That is immutable. It isn't human law. So maybe if you said it right and if I feel okay, it's going to happen.
That's kind of conditional, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, no, it's going to happen. The question is, and just like our return to love as a humanity
Mm-hmm.
is going to happen. The question is, how much joy are we willing to have along the way,
And generate
or how much suffering are we willing to tolerate?
and chaos.
And I say that for collective.
Mm-hmm.
When we look out at our world, how much are we willing to tolerate? Because eventually the organism of the universe will self-correct and homeostasis will happen. And, we have a choice. It's going to
Yes,
happen. We have a
indeed.
choice. So I choose love.
And this is the equation, friends. This is where the either or is most appropriate. Otherwise, subtraction is not. And we're not talking about subtraction, we're talking about choice. So we can either orient ourselves in a return back to our relationship, our primary relationship with our heart, our true self, our God, our beloved, listen to the voice of love and be the voice of love, or we can be the voice of fear and hear the voice of fear in our hearts and our minds. The reality is we're steeped in a non-choice. If you accept that you are a product of your environment, then so be it. You will be. But the reality is we are creators, one and all. We're Imagineers, we're artists, we're maestros. And we can make a choice of heart and love, to be the generators of a new world and a new reality. And it starts not only in our backyards, but it starts in us, in our hearts. And the question now is, well, how do I start? And the reality is we all need help. We need inspiration. We require, not need. And we greatly benefit from it. So the invitation is, one, find some inspiring books. Two, find someone who's further down the path, who is learning how to listen, how to sit, how to be still, how to be mindful, how to embrace love, and or have a conversation with someone like Liz or myself. Um, we offer those conversations in a way that can offer you a possibility of a new alignment, a new way of living, that reflects from us and back to us more like a feast than the often unfortunate famine that we have to walk through what I call our own personal valleys of shadow. Um, the world is what we make it. And some people can say, who am I to change the world? Who are you not to? So, Liz, we're coming up towards the end of the show. I would love for you to throw down with a call to inspiration, the way I just have,
Mm.
and action. You know, part of the reason I do what I do on the interwebs here with my show is to shake some trees and light some fires, and in a kind and compassionate but provocative way, ask you whatever you're doing, how's that working for you, Sparky? So bring the fire and invite us to action and inspiration, if you would.
Hmm. So I'm just going to check in with my heart and ask what's
Great idea.
choosing to be spoken into our field. Because I'm feeling at this moment very aware of the sacredness of each and every being who is touched by this show. And I'm feeling love well up in me. And so I invite you to close your eyes and place your hand on your heart and just your voice. Your voice is a healing tool. Your voice is the very first expression of your soul. And it moves energy as you breathe and you speak. The breath moves energy. So just speak the words, I remember my heart's desire. And listen, feel, notice what sensations you have in your body. Notice what bubbles up for you. Go deeper. Listen more. Listen so deeply, so intently, as if you were listening to your little child's voice whisper to you, Mommy, you know, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy, I love you. That's how precious you are.
Yeah.
And that is the essence of you that remembers love. That is the essence of you that remembers love. So this is all brand new in this moment. This is what's coming forth. And I invite you to play with your inner child, your inner voice, and let your little child out. Let your little child out to dance and play in nature, like the elementals.
Mm-hmm.
Take your shoes off and get them on the ground. Feel the earth. Feel the support. Look at nature and see how florific and flourishing nature is. Nature is our expression of abundance.
Yeah.
And ask, what do I desire? What do I desire? What do I desire? What do I desire?
And require.
It's already there.
Mm-hmm.
Just say yes. And the requirement will come. The resources are here. It's all here. It's all here. And then just enjoy. Don't do anything. Like you said, George. Just be. Just be in the enjoyment of your desire fulfilled. And now, how do you feel that your desire is fulfilled in your life?
Try it on.
Mm.
Get some.
Yeah.
All right. Before we jump into my final segment, your moments of mindfulness, Liz, if you would put some links up, how can people get in touch with you? First and foremost, connect with Liz, circle up with Liz here on the Google Plus.
Yes.
But share your website and also you're in an anthology called Fearless Voices, True Stories by Courageous Women. Can you hold that book up for us?
Yes,
Nice.
this is one of the anthologies I'm in. I'm in actually three. Here's
Okay.
the other,
Okay.
and here's the other. And these are all anthologies that I've been involved with since 2009 with a nonprofit organization called Heal My Voice. And I have the description of these books and my work with Heal My Voice on my Google Plus page. So
And go
feel
ahead and
free.
put healmyvoice.org up in the comments right now, if you would.
Okay.
Um, and then your website.
Mm-hmm.
And I wholeheartedly invite you friends here in the live show and in the replay to visit Liz, to visit the healmyvoice.org website. And if you would please, there's the one excerpt that you shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
Let that be your final word, if you would, before I go into your moments in mindfulness. If you can please share that from
Happy to.
Fearless Voices.
Yeah, thank you. So my story in this book is called What Gift Do You Bring? And this is the very first excerpt. Too often we look to external sources to fill the emptiness within. Nothing external can quench our inner longing for love. Only the love that we are never separate from will fill the void. That's a personal journal entry from July 2nd, 2005. And the story is the story of my awakening, to be exact, my awakening to this truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is narrated quite divinely by the four voices of me.
Awesome. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to knowing more and learning more on your book. You've been watching another epic episode of the Mindfulness Advantage Show, and we have been talking and exploring with Liz Draman of lizdraman.com and A Return to Love. Thank you so much for being with us today, Liz. And now it's time for our final segment, Your Moments in Mindfulness. There's not much that can be said that hasn't already been said today other than to call upon your courage. We are in a culture still that our communal relationship with heart and love and spirit and passions is at best a tenuous one. Many of us, with our greatest desires and dreams and visions, rather than live inside that sphere and in fulfillment, we will run up to it, touch it, and run back. That's human nature, because whatever your fulfillment is, your dream and your vision, it's way grander and bigger than you think you are in this moment. It came from you, came through you, through divine inspiration. So the reality is you are as big and bigger than that epiphany that you've received, or that image, or that what if. And the reason we're here is to make peace with our fear and our doubt, and to remember who we are, the remembrance of who we are, which is we are wired for love and for service. We are and can be the voice of love, the hand of love, the friend bringing love. And again, how we get there, it's one of the first questions. How do I get from this island I'm standing on to the mainland? Well, first, orient yourself to being in service in whatever way you can. In any moment, whatever's in front of you, you can be in service. How can I lift you up? How can I support you in achieving your greatest fulfillment and fulfilling your greatest dreams and visions? That's a question. And it's a question that we often pose here on Google+. This is a culture of collaboration and partnership. Well, we're inviting you to take that idea, that experience, no matter how brief or small it's been, plant it as a seed in the gardens of your heart, and
Yeah.
let it grow. Feed it daily. We will change ourselves and we will change the world together, friends. There's the saying, no man or woman is an island. Well, quit hallucinating that you're on your little tiny island with only one palm tree and a couple of coconuts. Come visit us on the mainland in the garden where the feasting table is filled and set and there's a chair waiting for you. It starts, friends, with your heart. Call upon your courage. Get up off the bench and in the game and join us. Liz has thrown her website up there. I would invite you to go there, entertain a conversation with Liz. I would also invite you to share our program today with your friends, your family. And we are here today. Our conversations for the last week have all led up to this moment where we can serve and inspire you. That's why we get up in the morning. That's why we get out of bed. So thank you very much for watching. I'm your host, George E. Green, and this is the Mindfulness Advantage Show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time out here on the interwebs.
Thank you, George.